Hey guys. And this is going to be a return on a series that I have not done for a very long time. Some of you OG viewers will probably know this series we call as Pokke Classroom. Now, I'm not exactly sure when was the last time I managed to do something like this. If I'm not mistaken, it's probably something to do with I think it was like everything you need to know about speed in Honkai Star Rail, where we go through what like speed boosts, action value advance, Von Whack, DDD, etc. And ever since then, we haven't really gotten ourselves into this type of content for a while because of, you know what, with no better reason, I got lazy. But laziness shall no longer be part of our concern, because in the big 2026, we are going to eliminate brain rot, eliminate laziness, and Prime Pokke is once again back here today. Alright, so before we proceed any further, I will kindly refer to you guys not for this chart over here, but this video over here. Alright, so editor, show the video we made for Pokkecorp. That particular video will essentially go through everything you would need to understand for Arknights Endfield Gacha system, especially when you compare it to two other gacha games. The one I used for comparison was with Honkai Star Rail, and the other one was with Uma Musume. Basically, the difference between the JP Spark system as well as the CN 5050. Now, for today's video, we are not going to be going too deep into exactly how this thing is going to be functioning, but it is going to be a way more straightforward, step-by-step process you can see over here to illustrate how you will go about exactly pulling in the Arknights Endfield Gacha. And then towards the end of today's class, I will also be taking questions from chat in case there are anything that people still do not understand, because the most important that I can't realize after playing gacha game for the past 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years is that players at the end of the day don't really read too much. Alright, so no matter how detailed a guide, an informational, infographic, whatever kind of thing it's going to be, there will always be room for doubt, uncertainty, and questions, no matter how obvious you make the actual content itself. So hopefully by the end of this video, we will address every single possible misinformation, allegations, anything you guys don't understand with regards to Arknights Endfield Gacha, right? So with that out of the way, let's go. Now kindly refer to this chart over here, right? I think the most important thing that we need to understand for Arknights Endfield at the start is that we will not take pooling income into consideration, because it is not something that will affect what you would know at the start of the game. You don't really know how many pools exactly you will get until you actually play the game itself. And to be in complete transparency, the pool income was the biggest problem for Arknights Endfield Gacha back in CBD3. Right? It is less so to do with the actual system for the gacha game, but more so to do with players back in CBD3 simply did not have enough pools. And the reason why they do not have enough pools is, number one, the overall chest, they didn't give enough. There was no such thing as refreshable endgame content, or at least not as many as they mentioned in the live stream. And after these two things combined with the lack of events and everything, the devs went ahead to buff the income you will get from the overall chest. They added, I think at this one there are like 3 different content that will also give you the income, as well as brand new like weeklies, which will also give you tickets, income for the normal oral berries, as well as RSO tickets, right? So whatever the actual income is going to be with like Death Citizen, the first phase 1.0 rerolls, all that kind of stuff, it will not be part of the consideration. The most important thing that will still hold true for both CBT3 as well as the actual launch of the game itself is going to be the gacha system, right? So with that being established, number one, the most important thing to first understand in Arknights Endfield is you do not pull in the banner unless you are willing to commit 120 pulls, period. That is the only thing, honestly. If there's like a single message you can take away from this entire video, that will be it. As long as you want to get that rate up unit, be prepared to spend 120 pools. As long as you understand this fundamental sentence, then everything will just fall into place, because all the extra hate hunting dossier, the one that you get from like the additional 30 pools give you another 10 pool that's not related, whether or not you win your 50-50, lose 50, all these things, it does not matter at all, as long as you're willing to spend 120 pools for that specific rate up. Now, the reason why this is the case, it will be shown from this chart over here, right? So, the reason why you need 120 is because in Arknights Endfield, there are two systems. One is this. 80 pity at 50-50. This is system number one, which is why only at 80 pools, it is insufficient to guarantee you the rate up 6-star. Alright, then there is a second system, which I can kindly divert attention to right here. The 120 spark. This is the only thing that you need to care about, because as long as you can fulfill this criteria, that means you are guaranteed the 6-star rate up without fail. It doesn't matter whether you get any earlies, lates, win, lose, 20, 0, 500,000 50-50s, you get like 800 5-stars or whatever, it's got 6 stars. None of that matters as long as you can hit this. If you can hit this, then you will guarantee right here. Guarantee rate up 6-star at 120 pools. Now, before this particular step, there's this thing over here, but it is not that important for players that are not willing for this game, right? So if you are just someone that only aims to get a single copy of a unit, right? You are just going for the E0s. You're not going for E1, E2, E3. If you just want a single copy, you don't need to worry about this. This does not exist for you. So I will first address the free-to-play players, as well as maybe like the light spenders, if you just want that one single copy, which is going to be seen from this right here. Now, the key difference, right? The key difference between both of these two things, which is going to be the 80 pity as well as the 120 spark, is this. The pity for the 80 pity 50-50, this carries forward. All right, this thing over here, it carries forward. But the pity for the 120 spark, this does not carry forward. That's it. And I think this is also one of the biggest things why players will probably feel Arknights Endfield Gacha is really, really bad. Because theoretically speaking, right? Theoretically speaking, if you were to go ahead and pull for, let's just say, 100 pulls, right? If you were to commit 100 pulls, not 119, not 121, but as long as you do not hit this 120 pulls, so let's just say 100, right? If you do not get that 5-star or rather the 6-star, this thing goes away. Which is why you never, ever pull on an Arknights Endfield banner if you cannot guarantee 120. So that 100 pull that you just did, alright? So you would have procced this pity once, right? Assuming you actually got that at the 80th pity, then whatever pulls you have done on this 100 pulls, it is completely irrelevant for this system. So don't view Arknights Endfield Gacha as like a combined single pity system. It is more so two different systems combined into one, right? One is for the 80 pity 50-50, which will never, ever guarantee you a 50-50. It will always be 50-50. There's no such thing as like a soft pity, hard pity. It is always this, right? Don't worry about like the guarantee for the rate up. This is by itself. Then this over here is also a by itself thing that happens once per banner. So with that being established, you can kind of just see like the thought process over here, right? Did you win your 50-50? Which is, did you get your rate up unit, right? So theoretically speaking, let's just say you're pulling for the lay banner, right? If you're gonna be pulling for the lay banner right here, did you win your 50-50? So this is the exact same as any CN 50-50 gacha games, right? Did you win or did you lose? There's a 50% chance of you getting it from your 80th PD, assuming you went all the way to 80th PD, right? So if you wanna, let me bring this screen down a little bit more over here. There we go. There we go, right? Did you win? if you won, right? You won your 50-50. You got the rate up. Then it is the exact same as any CN gacha. Alright, it is the same as HSR, it is the same as Wild Waves, it is the same as Xenon Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, or Genshin Impact. It is the exact same. If you won your 50-50 here, you simply reset. So you go all the way back here again, but you don't have to worry about this anymore. Because you already got yourself the 50-50. You have achieved the rate up. So this is the exact same. But if you were to lose, right, you did not win. You did not win over here. That is when it will come into this particular scenario. You will then pull more. Alright, you will then proceed to pull more from 81 to 119. Because remember, the spark is at 120. Right, the spark is at 120. So at 119, which is the final pull, assuming if you get or did not get any 6-star, you will then go back to this chart here, right? So if you did not get a single 6-star from 81 to 119, this means you are then once again guaranteed the rate up at 120 pulls. At 120 pulls, right? So then afterwards, the process kind of go all over again, but this only happens one time, so you don't have to worry about this being at 2, 3, 4. So you only care about that one single copy, right? If you did get another 6-star, right? So for this particular scenario at 81 to 119, if you did get another 6-star before 120, there is a chance for you to win or lose 50-50 again. Because like I mentioned, this system over here, this ADPD, it has no relation to you guaranteeing a rate up no matter how many times you win or lose. Zero relation. You could theoretically, so from this point, right? Theoretically speaking, if from 81 to 119, you get like a single multi, you get like 3 6-stars. There is a possibility of all 3 6-stars not being the rate up. Right? So there's no such thing as if you were to lose, you stop losing. Right? Which is why the only thing that matters is this right here. 120 pulls, 120 pulls. So theoretically, if you say, yes, you get it early, but if you still lost, then you come back to this again. So this whole loop, it will repeat itself over and over and over until the 120th summon. At the 120th summon, that is when you get a rate up, and then the gacha system for Arknights Endfield is gonna come to a close, right? That is pretty much it for my free-to-play options, right? If you just want to get a single copy, you don't want to care about anything else, this is it. Now, real quick, for the whales, right? For the whales, if you want to get more copies than one, if you want to get 2, 3, 4, 5, all these different copies, you can take a look over here. Because this only appears a single time, whales will then refer to this additional spark for 240, 480, 960 and 1,200 summons. So yes, for the whales, just like the free-to-play, all these 5 stars you get from your ADPD, right? All these 5, or rather the 6 stars, there is a 0 relation and 0 guarantee you can get a 6-star rate up at any point of time. The only guarantee that you get a 6-star rate up is this right here for the whales. So 240, 480, 960, and 1,200, right? So at 1,200, because the maximum in Arknights Endfield is for E5, like 5 dupes, or rather, 5 dupes plus the original baseline. If you were to lose 12 consecutive 50-50s back to back, then yes, you will need to spend 1,200 summons for an E5. That is if you lost 12 50-50s back to back. And once again, the absolute worst case scenario, right? So that is pretty much the gacha system explained for everything you need to know. Now, there is this one thing over here, which I didn't really touch on. There's this, right? The bonus segment over here, right? For your 30 pulls getting 110 pull on this banner, as well as a 60 pulls for 110 pull the next banner, frankly speaking, you don't have to worry about it. Because I personally feel this mechanic, it is more so to bait you into pulling a banner, which you might not even want to pull for in the first place, because this will probably make you think, okay, you know what, I'm losing money, right? I am losing pulls, I'm losing value by not giving 30 pulls to this banner because I'll be wasting 10 pull. But the fundamental thing remains unchanged, which is this, the 120 spark. So whatever pulls you spend on banner A, the progression towards the spark will reset every single time. So at the end of the day, if you want to just keep everything as simple as it gets, you can frankly just ignore this. If it was a banner that you did not even want to pull for in the first place, then there's no reason for you to get convinced by these 2 points just to pull on that banner, right? So I personally think that this is whatever. It is more so for players who already know they want to pull for this banner, right? If you want to pull for the lay banner, for particular banner A, then feel free, just go in. But these will be like the bonuses, right? One is going to be a tempo for this banner, and the other one is going to be tempo for the next banner. Other than that, you never ever have to worry about any other thing, which brings me to this topic right here, before I wrap up everything, right? Because honestly, this is a very, very straightforward gacha, which is the ultra simplified version. I know you guys were probably a little bit confused by all different choices, right? This is everything simplified to a single diagram, and it will literally just answer everything. 2 systems in one gacha. One is the 80, 50-50. One is the spark one time at 120. You are not guaranteed rate up at any point of time. So in Arknights Endfield, your pool is between 0 to 119. No matter how many 6 stars you get, if they are not the rate up, then they are not the rate up. There's no such thing as if you were to, let's just say for example, right, if you were lucky and you get 5 6 stars before 120 and you lost every single 50-50, then you still have to go to 120. But the flip side is, if you were to go to pity, then you will only need 120 pulls because you are guaranteed the rate up at 120. So that is the key difference over here. And I kind of summarize the sentiments for this system itself, which is, if you are a lucky gacha player, right? If you are a lucky player, you could spend more pulls to get the rate up. But if you are an unlucky gacha player, you will definitely spend less pulls to get the rate up. So that is like, I think the best way to kind of describe this whole thing myself. 2 things to note is that for these, your pity, right? Your pity for this, it carries forward, but frankly speaking, it does not matter. Right, you only can just crop this line out because once again, like I mentioned, the only thing that matters in Arknights Endfield Gacha is this. This is the only thing that a free-to-play, like Spender, whatever it is, should be thinking about, because this thing does not carry forward. So nobody should be going in and I do like 50 pulls on like banner A, and then you think, oh, you're building pity, because your next 6 star in the next banner will come to you within 30 pulls, because this pity carries forward. But this has a 0 relation with the spark system. So if you were to do 50 pulls right here, that means your spark progression for this banner is 50 out of 120. But by the next banner, although you might get a 6 star in the next 30 pulls, this spark progression will be reset to 0. So at the end of the day, you never ever build PD in Arknights Endfield, because the one that you only care about is this right here, right? So you can see, you never ever pull on a banner if you do not want to rate up, or if you do not have 120 pulls. You only pull on the banner if you want the rate up and have 120 pulls. So that essentially, honestly, kind of just summarizes everything that needs to be done for Arknights Endfield Gacha. To kind of break it down into a little bit of a comparison, which I did for my previous video, once again, it's gonna be seen from this little Excel sheet right here. You can kind of ignore all those things before then, because you can refer to our Pokkecorp video where we explain the probability as well as the pool simulation for what's going to happen. But picture the scenarios for the 3 gacha games. Right, these are 3 gacha games. Uma Musume, Honkai Star Rail, Arknights Endfield. So basically, for the unlucky players, your worst case scenario for an unlucky player, you will be spending lesser pools on average compared to the unlucky player in HSR. Now, of course, we should know for a fact that this 90 hard pity as well as 80 hard pity, they will probably not happen, because soft pity triggers around like 70-ish pulls for Arknights Endfield as well as 70-ish pulls for Honkai Star Rail, right? 70-ish to 80 pulls. So this is the absolute worst case scenario for both. So just for a single copy in the worst case, Arknights Endfield actually saves you those up to 60 pulls. But if you do get an early SSR, so this is to say, if you were lucky, right? If you were lucky, in the Honkai Star Rail, whatever your next SSR is going to be is guaranteed to be rate up. So lucky players in HSR you will get a little bit more of an insurance because you're essentially guaranteed that rate up. Especially because this guarantee, it will transfer between this banner to the next banner. But for Arknights Endfield, there's no such thing as guarantee, right? You can lose 20, 50, 50s back to back, and you just don't get a single rate up because despite you being lucky getting a 6-star, it doesn't translate into you being lucky getting the rate up 6-star, right? That is the important thing of it, right? So that is gonna be that over there. And lastly, if you want to compare between two banners, right? The reason why I didn't say about Uma Musume, because with all due respect to Uma Musume, the Uma Musume banner is like, it's a JB Gacha. So I don't think we need to talk about that, right? So for the two different banners, in Honkai Star for two different units, you would then need to spend up to, worst case scenario, 360 pools for 2E0, but the PD carries forward. Whereas for Arknights Endfield, you would then only spend 240 pools for 2E0, but you do not carry forward. So it really just boils down to this fundamental thing, which is going to be, once again, this right here. As long as you want to pull on that rate up, commit 120 pools. If you do not want to pull on that rate up, just don't build pity. Save up your pools. Don't do a sneaky 10 pool, 20 pool, 30 pool just because you get like free 10 pools for this. You get another free 10 pool. Like you want to test your luck. You want to get 5-star. Do not do that because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters for an Arknights Endfield Gacha is simply just this step. As long as you understand this line over here, then everything sort of just falls into place. With that, I've kind of just come into the end of our quick little summary. I will now be taking questions from chat as to anything that you guys still do not understand right here. How are you guys? Yes, questions. You, Sam Peppy, what is your question? What is your question? Yo, Quadro, what is your... Oh, you don't understand a thing? Okay, you can just jump off. What if I can't stop myself? Okay, that is honestly an excellent question. As you go, what if you simply cannot stop yourself from pulling? You have to pull because you are a gacha player. I don't even mean this as like a joke. It is a legitimate question, right? Because at the end of the day, gacha players, y'all want to pull. That's why we're playing gacha games. That's why I am playing gacha games. I play a gacha games not to save pools, bro. I play a gacha game to spend pools, right? It is completely valid. But here is the thing, right? Here's the thing. If you were to go ahead and pull without any self-control, which is basically, I would say 99% of the gacha population, this system is legitimately really, really bad for you. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. And all those criticisms that players would say, which is the Arknights gacha is really bad because you can't be pity, it is valid. Because you can't control yourself. Because all your pools that you spend on the first banner, as long as you don't hit 120, all those pools are completely wasted. It is literally like throwing $200 to the bin because your next 20, 30, 40 pools, it has zero relation building towards a spark because you threw everything away for the very first banner. So that is probably like the best way I can think about it. If you really, really cannot help yourself, then yes, this gacha is honestly really bad for you. Right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is genuinely bad. Right? Okay, exceptional. Next question. So does this mean anyone have to pull smart as Bob? By pulling smart, it really is not so much like you want to strategically plan out whichever unit you want. Because one thing with Arknights Endfield is that when you lose your 50-50s, you could actually lose them to the next two rate up units from this rotation. So, for example, right, legitimately the best example I can think of is, imagine right now, we are having the Castervis 3B Hyacinth banner. Alright, best example. If you are pulling on the Castervis banner, out of the 7 units that you will lose your 50-50 to, 2 of those units are actually 3B and Hyacinth. So, technically speaking, not that it will happen all the time, but there is a chance for you to actually lose your 50-50, but then again get the next banner's rate up. Because they include that into a selection. So for Arknights Endfield, the gacha system, it really is like, you might want to plan for this specific unit, right? You want to plan for unit A, but there is a small chance of you actually getting unit B or C. So in the grand scheme of things, as long as you log into that 120 pools for unit A, you don't
really have to worry about does the pity carry over that much or not. Because, again, the fundamental concept is this. If you fulfill this, you fulfill all there needs to be done in the gacha to make sure you don't spend as much pools as someone that's really, really unlucky. For example, in Honkai style, Genshin, Water Waves, or Standard Soju, right? So that's gonna be that. If I win the ATX 50-50, does that remove the spark? It will basically reset. Yes. So at any point of time, right? If you already got yourself the rate up, then that thing is donezo. The 120 spark is essentially your insurance. If you do not need the insurance, then you don't need the insurance. It will be as if that thing does not exist. Yep, so that is pretty much it. It is really just for players that are like super unlucky. The worst possible scenario for a gacha player that plays Arknights Endfield is basically 120. But if you don't need that, then you basically don't need that. Yep, essentially that's it, right? I don't like the Arknights Endfield gacha. Oh, wait. I don't like the Arknights Endfield gacha. You are basically forced to do single pools so you don't waste pool. Imagine doing a 10 pool and winning on the first pool. Now 9 pools are being wasted. Getting an early rate up actually punishes you. You are forced to keep pulling just to reach another 5-star and get cash back for S1 as well as any other quality. Okay, Rich Dreamer, you're right. This game, it punishes someone for being too lucky. Yes, but the flip side is essentially it protects someone from being too unlucky. So whatever the example you just said, it is completely valid. So let's just say you are really lucky, right? If you get yourself your rate up, right? Your rate up 6-star in the first 10 pool, the first 1 summon. You get it in 1 summon, right? Your next 9 summons, theoretically speaking, is wasted. Because you won't need it anymore, right? You literally would not need that anymore since you have effectively not used these 9 summons for the next banner which you can actually build a spark towards. So if you are someone that is extremely lucky, right, and you get your rate up 6-star early, any pools you do after that is effectively a waste. But my question to you, Richard Jimmer, and my question to you is basically, can you think about the homeless gacha players though? Because at the end of the day, these players that are lucky, they are the statistical anomaly. It is less than 0.0001% of the population to get their rate up 6-star in the first 1 summon, right? Or like just getting them really, really early. But what about the homeless players? The homeless gacha players that have to hit like 160 pools for the whole games and for Water Waves, right? Every single time they play these games, they always lose 50-50, right? They just consistently, non-stop lose 50-50, go to hard pity every single time, 160, 160. But for these players, we protect their future because you guarantee their rate up at 120 spark. So what do you think about those players? Life is hard. Life is hard. That's me. Just spend Y2E0 at 360 pools. That is if you were to go hard beating. If you go hard beating for both, just don't lose. I feel like, okay, this really is just a matter of how do you protect both the lucky players and the unlucky players? And the answer is you can't. At some point, one party has to give in a little bit to protect the other party. So for Arknights Endfield situation, they have chose the path of AHA. They have decided to choose the path where they will protect the unlucky players by saving their pools, capping that at 120, at the expense of the lucky players potentially wasting a couple of pools in there, right? So that is essentially the catch over here, right? By the time you save 500 pools, the character you want will be power crap long before that. Just re-roll an account. Okay, by the way, on the topic of re-rolling Arknights Endfield, I will highly recommend not doing it because from my CBD experience, the actual gacha happens at around 25 minutes. 25 to 30 minutes with skip all option. And on top of that, the amount of pools you get when you get to the gacha is actually not a lot because a lot of the pools are tied to your actual progression when you play the story as well as the level up. So you are literally just going to be spending like half an hour every single time just to re-roll like I don't know, 20, 30-ish push. Maybe there will be a little bit more on global because we have the pre-reg rewards. But I personally don't, it's not going to be too worth it to reroll. What if I, okay, exceptional question. Phase Gen. What if I pull 60 on the first banner and then only pull 50 plus 10 carry over plus 10 to maximize the free pulls? You are literally being a stupid dum-dum because you, at this point, have wasted 60 pulls for free 99. You basically threw away 60 pulls for this 120 spark because this resets. Right, you are basically saying, okay, I will spend 60 pulls here, I will throw away 60 pulls to the rubbish bin, so that my next 120, right, my next banner, I'll have plus 10. I'll have a plus 10 pity for my next banner after throwing away 60 pulls. Right, that's essentially what's going on over here. To be fair, you could gamble. You could gamble. Because theoretically, right, if you were to gamble 60 pulls for this system over here, you theoretically could just get yourself the next 6-star, the 6-star rate up in the next banner within 20 pulls. So you could gamble. But at the end of the day, your cost of gambling is that if you didn't win that gamble, you would have lost the spark mileage. So honestly, the answer to that question, it kind of just depends what kind of person you are, right? Also, if you can just remove it, honestly, Kimi Ori, you are absolutely right. I think the best way to say whether or not this is a great or bad gacha, they should just remove 50-50s, right? Just make it such that every single 80 pulls, you are guaranteed the rate up without fail. Without fail. Then this way, we don't even need to make money. We'll just be a indie company, and then we can just happily go around with the best gacha game in the entire world, right? And we can supply ourselves with just hell free to blaze, Very, very good. You say that you can satisfy both lucky and unlucky players, but there's a solution. Just make the 120 spark being able to carry over, right? Okay, UG ratio. I know exactly what you mean. The solution for this thing, to make this carry over, it is not so much for Arknights Endfield, but it is more so ingrained in the entire gacha game business model since long before Genshin Impact. So this spark system, right? This spark system, it was built in place back in the early 2000s. Right, just a little bit of history lore lesson, because MrPokke has been in the gacha scene for a long as time. It is a implemented by this game called Grand Blue Fantasy. Right, there was this banner for the Zodiac. Right, it was basically the Sun Wukong, the monkey banner for the Zodiac. So apparently, way back then, essentially somebody from Grand Blue Fantasy slammed a kabillion pulls. Right, literally a kabillion pulls without a single copy of the unit. And because of that single unit in that single game, it introduced what we now know today as the Spark system, where if you want to pull for that unit, you commit for that unit, and the Spark will protect you for someone that wanted to pull for that unit. The keyword being wanted to pull for that unit. So the entire premise of this Spark, it is to act as an insurance for someone that actually wanted unit X. So you can't just take this spark and convert it into, okay, you know what, I'll just use this as a transferable hidden PD, because that is essentially what 50-50s do. Right? This thing has been invented by the CN market to solve this issue of sparks not being able to carry forward by implementing the 50-50s. Right? So you basically save yourself the sparks by allowing a crossover between banners. But the catch for this 50-50 is that theoretically speaking, you will spend more pulls. There's a catch, right? So I think the best way to see this is if you kindly refer to our chart over here. If you wanted to talk about the exact number of pulls for just one copy of unit, this is a CN model with 50-50. Theoretically, it would take you more pulls, right? 180 is the absolute max. I think we all know by now, most of the time you will get a rate out at around 160 pulls, right? The absolute max, 160, which is still gonna be more compared to 120 for one copy of E0. But the catch for this is that even though this costs less pulls, is that it is only for that one unit, which once again just goes back to the fundamental thing, which is if you're somebody that wants to pull, you cannot help yourself. You have to swipe, you have to slam your pulls right now, but you don't know if you can even hit 120. This gacha system is honestly bad. it is a bad system because it does not carry over. But if you are someone that has the self-control to save up 120 pools, as long as you have this in place, you would, in the grand scheme of things, spend lesser pools, right? You will spend lesser pools compared to HSR, Wilding Waves, Genshin, and also all the kind of things, right? Hope this helps. Hope this helps. Very good. Gacha model, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I'll wrap up with one last question because we are going into 40 minutes, and I know that there's no way you guys have the attention span to run 40 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. I need to, like, that help. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other? Nikkei? One fine day. Dr. Pokke. How many free pools do we get in the game? Honestly speaking, I have no idea. Back in CBT, I remembered on the first 5 hours, I did the 40 beginner banner pools, 40 standard pools, and roughly 30 limited pools. That was in CBT. But with the pre-reg rewards as well as the new devs listen, the codes, I think the number is going to be a lot more different, especially because even like the overall chest, they buff the number of premium currency. So we're just going to have to see how many we get out there. Explain the weapon banner, please. Ooh. To summarize the weapon banner, right? Let me bring this up over here because I already done my homework for this, right? Boom. Weapon banner. I have talked about this in the Pokkecorp video. I'll just briefly touch on the weapon banner here again. You essentially get yourself byproducts for the weapon banner for free, right? Which is what you can see over here. The things you get from not just your pools, right? From your gacha. So for example, if you were to get 9 4-stars and 1 5-star, you'll get 380 of these Arsenal tickets. But the Arsenal tickets can also be obtained from your weeklies, from your events, and all these kind of rotational basis. So exactly what is the income for the weapon banner? We don't really know about it, right? We don't really know about it. The only thing you need to worry about in the weapon banner is, while it is free, you essentially have the same logic as you would for the 120 spark. So pretend the 120 spark is also going to be applied for the weapon, except that for the weapon, it is 80. It is 80 instead of 120. So as long as you can commit 80 pools into the weapon, you will be guaranteed the 6-star rate up, right? 6-star rate up guaranteed. Now this 40 pools over here, frankly speaking, the odds of anyone winning this is honestly kind of low because it's 25-75. Which is also another red flag for a lot of players. You're like, oh my god, Arknights Enfield's weapon is 25-75. Fuck this fucking game. But the thing is, this is 40 pools. Right? It is less so of you winning this 25-75. It is more so of the game just giving you a free 6-star before you hit 80. That is how I view this 40 pool for the weapon system, right? Now, the new things they add over here, frankly speaking, the free-to-plays don't really care about it. Because these are mainly just for the whales, right? For the whales that want multiple copies of the 6-star weapon, they can chase these. This was not implemented last time, so if you were a whale back in OCBT3, if you get fucked on the weapon, you are just kind of fucked on the weapon. You have to spend like hundreds and thousands of pools because there was no such thing as this, right? They added this to kind of protect the whales, but if you are just someone that wants one copy, the only thing you care about is this, right? As long as you save 80 pools for the weapon, you will guarantee that 6-star rate up. But then again, the exact same thing as the 120 spark, which is none of these carries forward as well. There is no building PD. Every single pool you spend on the weapon banner, it is strictly for that weapon banner. So you never ever build PD for the spark for the units, and you never ever build PD for the spark on the weapon. So you only commit on a banner for both weapon and units in Arknights Endfield, right? Hope that helps. Hope that helps. How many pools you gotta do on a credit for 80 weapon pools? This is the economy here. So you need 1980 for a 10 pool. The worst possible odds, so you get 9 4-stars and 1 5-star, is 380. Which means that you will need roughly around 50-ish, slightly lesser than 50-ish pools for a 10 pool. But this is only on the premise that you get these weapon income from the worst possible gacha odds. So back in CBT3, there was no such thing as weeklies, and there was no such thing as like end content where they gave you these Arsenal tickets. But they did mention that they're going to be giving Arsenal tickets in the future. It's just the question of like how many do you actually get? Right? How many do you actually get? So for the income side of things, I unfortunately cannot answer. Dear teacher, can you give me a single line? What is the spark thingy? Mr. KK, I will literally throw you to the fucking principal's office. You useless fucking the most important thing for people who are afraid of playing Dolphins is NATO on the guys in the pool economy, guarantee and the absolutely. The thing about Arknights Endfield is that gacha economy is something that transcends beyond the gacha business model. Gacha business models are how do you spend your income. But whether or not you get your income in the game is completely a separate topic, which unfortunately we just do not have the answer to because they are adding more things and more income to the game itself. The thing that we are talking about today, it is the business model, right? The gacha business model for Endfield. So a good business model would be, whether or not this system is in place, a good business model would be a free-to-play should be able to, on launch, should be able to get 120 boosts. Should be. Especially on launch. Whether in the future you get 120 boosts per patch, that is a different topic. But a good business model would allow you to get it. So any good business, alright, in gacha games, the income is always proportionate to allowing a free-to-play getting close to that rate up 5-star. Right? That is kind of like how this thing works. And you can get it. Yeah, okay, then that's fine. It's just that I don't really know exactly how many do they actually give, so we will not talk about the gacha income, right? Okay, chat. I believe I have answered every possible question over here. So I think we are now going to end up this video. Thank you, chat. With that, we have come to the end of debunking the Arknights Endfield Gacha, the Arknights Endfield Gacha system, the Arknights Endfield Gacha situation explained. Let me know if this content was helpful. Hopefully I answered every single possible question. If you still have anything that you do not understand, either leave it down in the comments, join our Discord, we're going to be having an Arknights Endfield community, or ask Pokkecorp, right? I think Pokkecorp is going to be pumping out a lot of Arknights Endfield Gacha content, so I will be seeing you guys there. Today, I'm just stepping in to relieve my Pokkecorp gym mummy, and that's kind of done, right? Our word of the day is going to be 120 or 0. Join Discord, use code Pokke, all the best, guys. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.